In this lecture, we are going to discuss managing security culture and policy. We will begin with effective management attributes. We will look at the employee lifecycle. We will compare and contrast three important terms that look similar but are very different on the exam and in practice. These are policy, process, and procedure. We will then look at policy considerations and conclude with policy versus operations-based regulation. There are several attributes of effective management. And again, this can be security management, this can be privacy management. All of these disciplines, if they are successful in an organization, they're going to have the following attributes. They're going to be supported by the board of directors or whatever the most senior leadership team of the organization is. They're going to support a culture of risk management. They're going to have respect for privacy and data protection. They're going to consist of a cross-functional team. That is, there will be representatives from each of the organization's different business functions. This includes human resources, whatever the particular business line for the organization is, cybersecurity, data, for example, data governance, privacy, and legal. And the management will also take any incidents and breaches seriously. Now, a strong culture of risk management is instilled and maintained throughout the employee lifecycle. This means that when we start with determining the job position and description, for example, we're thinking about how this position fits into the organization's culture. And that continues, of course, through recruitment, the interview process, onboarding, all the way through to separation. This requires regular training and awareness. We don't provide someone with training just once when they onboard and then never again. This also requires performance monitoring. How is the individual doing, and are they meeting the security and privacy requirements for the job description? And finally, upon separation, all physical assets must be returned, data purged, and network access terminated. So again, considering the entire employee lifecycle. Three important terms that you need to know well are policy, process, and procedure. This is also known as a layered approach. Policy refers to high-level statements that outline the overarching rules, goals, and intentions of the organization. Going one layer deeper, we have process. This is the high-level steps or stages that outline how an organization achieves a particular outcome. And finally, at the deepest layer, we have procedure. This is a detailed step-by-step set of instructions for carrying out a task. In your organization, you may have, for example, standard operating procedures. That is how a particular task is carried out with step-by-step instructions. A clear standard operating procedure, or SOP, will mean that a brand new person, someone new to the organization, will be able to read through that document and execute those instructions as if they've been with the organization for a long time. Now, when it comes to the GDPR and privacy compliance, your organization's policy is a crucial resource for the organization and for regulators. For the organization, it provides a roadmap. What are we doing? How are we going to do it? Why are we doing it this way? And for regulators, it demonstrates that you're taking this particular activity seriously. When it comes to outside audits, whether it's from a regulator or a third party that your organization has hired, one of the first things regulators are going to reference is your policy, or really your policies. Lack of policy creates a bad first impression and is a basis for non-compliance. If you don't have your policy written down, how do your employees learn about the policy? What do they reference when they have a question? Another really important consideration is that most audits are going to be based on your organization's policy, not on operations. There's a key reason why regulators and auditors prefer referencing a policy than they do observing your organization's operations. One reason is because observing operations is tremendously time-consuming and disruptive. You're essentially assigning an auditor to stand over the shoulder of an employee, if not multiple employees, and watch what they do on a day-to-day basis. As a result, this demands that regulators embed into organizations and observe the day-to-day. Again, time-consuming, expensive, disruptive, etc. In this lecture, we looked at effective management attributes. These include being supported by the board of directors, cultivating a culture of risk management, respect for privacy and data protection, and having a cross-functional team. Part of building a strong security culture means embedding that culture throughout the employee lifecycle. This is from determining the job position and description through recruitment, onboarding, and separation. You need to know the difference between policies, processes, and procedures. A policy is a high-level statement that outlines the overarching rules, goals, and intentions of an organization. A process is a high-level set of steps or stages that outline how an organization achieves a particular outcome. And a procedure is a detailed step-by-step set of instructions for carrying out a task. Again, for procedure, think Standard Operating Procedure, or SOP. When it comes to policy considerations, this is a crucial resource for organization and for regulators, and policies will be one of the first things that regulators reference during an audit. Remember that the importance on policy is for good reason. Observing operations is tremendously time-consuming and disruptive, and it demands that regulators or auditors embed themselves into organizations in order to observe the day-to-day.